who are those speakers going to be? What is the first subject that we want to, in one of the things we can do is get like 2 or 3 investors from in one of the forums, 2 or 3 like guys from Plug and Play, like potential investors with VCs. So that would bring young people to the table to say, wow, this is amazing. So we can potentially have 1, 2 or 3 events like that. It would be awesome to get someone like a Bill Gates or a Richard Branson together with a panel talking about climate change and why they're actually going into space. What is it that they're going into space for? Is it because they find a new home because this home is a bit rooted? To get them to come to the table, and also so I think for next time, for the next meeting, and hopefully we can meet in 2 weeks' time again, just to continue this conversation. Let's find a date and actually go out to market to. And you've nailed it, Lisa. Is the people who we want to leverage don't really want to listen to us. They actually want to speak, and they want to get their they want to hear their voice to the public. Is that correct?
As I hear what everyone's saying, I can also think of some other offerings we might do other than speaker events. And so at some point we might want to wait just maybe a session or so longer before we start putting out who we are.
Okay.
To think about which of these offerings we want to do. And what it reminded me of, and particularly seeing Kurt, because when we worked with Kurt, we worked with a lot of media companies and looked at who were their customers. And some were people that just wanted you to make the show for them and deliver it. And some that wanted to be interactive media, some that wanted you to help them make the media themselves, so it was like different levels of interaction. So speaker events could be something that we have really incredible speaker, and then you just have Q&A and people get to interact with the speaker, but it's pretty much one-way expert to people who want to learn. But there could be a lot of interaction in the forum of different kinds of interactive member events that we could set up, which were much more about hear a speaker and then go off. And if it's something, it's all going to be online. You could work on Miro or on other kinds of sets where people make their own, either in Zoom, make a discussion about what they're going to do with it and how they see it, or do something on Miro where they actually come up with.
Yes, that's the basis.
Share it. So there's different kinds of interactive that you can have the expert talk, but then it might be a 2 or 3 hour event, and you actually think about how you would integrate it and what you would do. There can be places where if people go past a general strategy and come up with offerings, they want to pitch to each other.
Just a quick comment.
Yeah, and so that they get to make a short pitch, but they get the feedback from everyone else who's in the group.
Yes.
So there's a number of different things that we might think about that are interactive that the people working on climate solutions might need. One might be human speakers, but the others might be the communication among the people in the group, and the power of being part of a group. Could have smaller events, longer events that could be offerings, and you sign up for them, and maybe it's held to a certain number of people, and you sign up, but they're held often enough that you can get into one.
Got it.
We might need to know who we are.
Good. Yeah. Okay, David.
Just a quick comment. It has to be, as far as the speakers groups are concerned, a multi-generational attraction. We can't invite people of our generation to speak down to the next generation. There has to be included people who are looked upon as role models by the people who are 40 and under. Otherwise, will be an elders group that no one wants to listen, because the boomers anyway messed up this whole planet. Okay. So it has to be multi-generational.
Well, and international. And international. Because the Chinese and the developing countries don't want to hear from Americans about how they need to suppress their development.
Exactly. They're multinational and young. Got it. But as Elisa, I totally agree with you. And if you have a look at our BBG forums, we're exactly that. So the process that we have is we have someone who's got fire starters that speak for anywhere between half an hour and 45 minutes. And then we go into think tanks of 6 and 7, and we spend like half an hour where we brainstorm the learnings and the outcomes of that specific talk. And we then come back and the facilitator of those forums will then unpack that think tank. And that really works well. And that's the format that we bring to that table. And so this is the format. The DNA of this format will totally be dependent on the members who come to this forum, if that makes sense. Michael, you've been to a number of BBG forums. What is your take on where to from here?
Couple of things. I'm reminded of a case study that I read. I think it was on HBR. I don't know how many of you know, but there were 2 Fukushima reactors, and of course, all of us heard of the Fukushima Daiichi, but which is the one that sort of imploded and created a nuclear disaster. But as it were, there was an identical one 10 kilometers up the road that suffered massive amount of damage, and yet didn't go into the zone of becoming a nuclear disaster. And the difference was that the GM of that particular one pulled in all the people who were working in that plant, from the shop floor to management, pulled all of them into one room. And before they took any action, they actually spent few hours discussing and running scenarios and collaborating together on ideas. And I feel we're kind of at that point in a sense. In other words, I think we're still kind of diverging in terms of this looks interesting, this looks interesting. It's not necessarily yet time to converge and say this is exactly what it is. But we need more people in the room to be able to kind of get a clear idea. And by way of giving an example, there is actually some brilliant work done on economics called Donut Economics by, I think her name is Kate Rowers from Oxford.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, a different economy. That's the start to shift into a new economic system.
Right. So it feels like, like at this stage of the discussion, I think that we kind of need to know more about the different pieces that are still available before we can.
I'm not sure whether I agree with you, Michael, because what happens is we'll ruminate and ruminate and ruminate until we know action's ever taken, and it'll just dissolve. I've seen that happen too often. What we need to do is say this is a start, and we can change as we go. But let's actually take action and do something, because otherwise we'll just ruminate amongst people who are in the choir.
I think there is a way to pull those two together, and that is that rather than say let's just talk about everything, look at the different pots that we need to kind of engage with. One of them will be economics. Another one will be education, and just do first an exploration.
Michael, we can only do one thing at a time. So at a forum, we can only discuss one specific topic. We've only got 2 hours at a specific forum. We know that we've got a process. So let's actually go and try and say, who is one speaker? Let's find out lots of speakers over the course of the year, but let's actually test the hypothesis. We don't have to ruminate.
So it's set that it would be a 2-hour forum. That's what the offering is that we're looking at. So it's not that there's a range of offerings, but we're going to look at, because I didn't know that. So that actually helps. If we're going to say, okay, what works in 2 hours for a group, then we can.
But Lisa, we have that. We have that format. That's what I bring to the table. Right. So this is the format. This is the process that we have. Now, out of that can come 50 different consulting projects and 60 different projects. But if we can actually say, this is a 2-hour thing that we have every month, we can have a speaker, we can have a think tank, we can have an unpack the think tank. From that, something will grow. That's what we bring to the table. It's that continuity, it's that process of continuity in a very simple way that we say, here's a speaker, here's a think tank, here's the unpacking of the think tank. Out of that will come 22 little video snippets, and the members of the forum and the guests can ship it out to get a lot of leverage. Now, if that works and something else comes out of it, happy days from here.
I wanted to suggest that we also, similar to what we're doing on this general I4J stuff, the exchange we have there, it'd be fantastic. I think there are all kinds of things I would like to share with this team and start to just kind of hold it to our own little group But there are some speaker ideas I have, other kinds of things. The drawdown reference, I think, is really not the circular economy thing is really important.
Yeah.
Those kind of things. If we can start building that in the process, that'd be really good.
Yeah. Okay. So that would be great. I have created a WhatsApp forum amongst us, and I'd love to get a date or think about a speaker or a group of speakers and who the audiences are. And let's meet again in 2 weeks' time for an hour. And because we're all busy, everyone's got their own lives to lead. And it's like herding cats. So we can try and change the world and do a million different things. But unless we actually physically do something, nothing will happen. That's my view.
Great.
Sorry to be so.
Let's make it happen.
Right.
And it's sometimes called a soft launch. So let's launch.
I think your proposal is a very reasonable one to go forward. So I support it.
Right.